my thing for all businesses at the moment is, number one, understand that if you have staff in place and they've been using AI, they will continue using AI at some level. And you've got to control that data that's going in there. A lot of businesses will say to, oh, staff don't use AI. And then they've got staff drawing up CVs on AI. So they just put all the personal details, everything into that. In a workplace environment, locking down that data early doors is really important. So you have to go through a stepped process of pausing, saying we are using AI tools. We now need you all just to pause while we work this out. Then you need to put your governance in play, as you said, control over that data. And then you need to choose how you're going to adopt that and how it's going to benefit people. And also enabling people to use those tools is really important. There's no instruction book for most of these tools. But I think if you take a nice relaxed approach like that, you can get to the bottom of it. I think, you probably would worry as a business owner if you ran something to see how many different tools were being used in your business. So it would be worth doing some checks in the background. If you don't believe it's being used, because it probably is.
Yeah, because the hardest thing, I've got total respect, business owners that work with our partners, that particularly in the current market conditions, you've got, it's a challenging economy. It's challenging with the cost of your staff, tax, all these things. And then you kind of throw into the mix as a business owner, people potentially ransomware hacks, and I understand why people would, you've kind of got the pressure, which must be immense for them. I mean, it's one of the reasons I've never kind of started my own business, because I've got a mortgage and I like to sleep relatively well at night. And I think you've got that coming in, and then you've got AI coming in, which is a fantastic thing when used right. Your cost of people is high. So there is a temptation to say, actually, I'll use AI where I don't use people. And
yeah,
it's something that, just with my own relationship head on, I would say, is always be aware of that, because depending on what your business is, if your business has been built on relationships and kind of the brand and synonymous with that, if you suddenly move away from that and have fully automated, you can't speak to a human being, you can't meet a human being, all those different things,
that's not going to help anyone, is it?
I mean, it might work, but I think I would probably suggest, if the customers are used to that, they use your business for those things. If you suddenly tail that away, then they're not going to be super happy.
No, I think
I wouldn't be.
No,
personally.
I think the benefits of it, and this is where I'm saying, once you've got all the governance and checks in place, rather than look at saving costs on staff, you look at the initial staff that you spent money and got out there, who are working really hard for your business. And look, I've seen some of the documents you have to fill in your business. The tedious 100-page documents where you basically have got to copy and paste the same information in. The humanised bit, you're never going to ask AI to fill it. It never know how to fill that in, because you don't understand the person. But it'd be a clever thing not to burn that staff member out by having to fill in all that document and getting that filled in, up to the point of, I'm a human being now, I want to hear about how I'm going to really help your business. And
it's interesting. I mean, the AI thing, I was listening to Radio 4, because I'm that age, and someone was talking about AI in terms of taking the sort of base level roles. But the concern with that is, historically, people in certainly business I worked, I bet where you've worked, they start at the base level and work their way up. But if you remove that sort of base level role, the next generations coming through, how will they be? So I think it's definitely the AI and employee strategy and all that kind of link in. That's why I think businesses like yours, MSPs, you're really well positioned, because you've got
There's always a learning role.
Yeah, and you're involved in those businesses' roadmap in terms of what they're looking at and where they want to go. And I think, you know, it's being that trusted advisor, I suppose, because I'm getting hundreds, I'm sure you are, I'm sure business owners are and other partners, hundreds of automated AI messages, emails, all that stuff, kind of pushing these things. So there's a lot of pressure on it. So yeah, it's something that you've got to have a clear head when you're looking through, haven't you?
The cybersecurity side of things is logistically for businesses, I think it's a nightmare. I think that there's so much stuff that they've got to think of when you're running a business to protect your business. You know, realistically now, it's so sophisticated. Some of the things that are being used and generative AI making it more readily available for criminal activity to take place means that you've got to have an ecosystem. That ecosystem has to look like from your endpoint to your staff member, everyone being...
Do you think with the businesses you look after, speaking from in the news, you've had like Co-op, well publicised issue, a number of other, I think Land Rover, which impacted the government's growth. It's always been there, but have your customers probably the last couple of years, is it more prompted kind of with these? Because in my lifetime, you'd get there was never the number of issues faced by businesses, cyber-wise, public kind of, I'm sure they've always been there, don't get me wrong, but like publicly, I've never known a period in my career where
it's been as intense.
Yeah, and are you seeing that from your customers? Are they worried? Is it like, how do you advise? I know it's probably it's probably a 3-day conversation,
it's
a
long conversation, and I think it's number one, everyone is now connected and operating on devices. You know, whatever your choice of phone is, there's your entry point, and you being a human being is the other entry point. And now we're living in an age of technology which is giving us more power as end users than ever before. So, you know, the fact that you can go on and generate an image of someone and make it quite funny and everything, even though it seems quite insignificant, the thought process of that is a dream process from the past. You know, I think we've had a #1 record now generated by AI. So it's starting to tap into the human brain and the way we're thinking. The computer is generating those models and modules. So it allows, once you've got that and seen the positive sides of it, there's always someone doing the less positive sides. And cybersecurity is one of the largest growing industries in the world. So it's one of the most profitable industries in the world. So when you've got those two things collide, you've got a problem. We've got cybersecurity products maxing out and cybercrime maxing out, but it's not flatlining. And that there is a problem. So there's no solution for this issue at the moment. So I think, you know, it's going to take a lot. You know, the ISPs out there, the governance over what's run over that line is eventually going to become a major legal requirement, which we all think is going to be a better thing. The actual security products, a lot of the things that are happening at the moment, I think in the next 5 years will be built into a lot of the things that we do. You know, early adoption stuff that's being rolled out now will become part of the Microsoft suites, the Apple suite. So we'll start seeing some of the benefits of end users. But yeah, in terms of your question of have I ever seen it worse than this? Well, 20 odd years, I think this is the craziest I've seen it. I think that, you know, huge household brands like the Co-op, Marx's, Land Rover, of course, are going to make the news. But actually, if you go onto the National Cybersecurity Centre and you look at the amount of companies that are getting hit, and some of those are very, very good organisations. And I think, you know, being on the front line with this, you know, you're seeing the person who's been affected and the business that's been affected. It's not a poor user a lot of the time. It's an educated user who's made a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I'm fortunate. Some events I've been to, the CISO positions, and they're under huge pressure. And like you say, sometimes it could be because I could put your name in to my ChatGPT and it would say, Stephen Hobson supports a terrible football team. The ways to get to know him would be mention this, talk about this, do this, do. And I could do that and have a rough idea of how to approach. And a lot of the time, you know, these sort of breaches is an individual who's targeted or shares something they shouldn't share.
Got so much data out there.
Yeah, so it's not so much, because you always think, don't you, with hacking, it's a movie where you've got a henchman's basement where there's a load of people all wearing black,
mafia in Thailand and all this,
tapping away at 3 keyboards and they're able to bypass mainframes and all this kind of stuff, when the reality is it could be someone thinking that they've just received a phone call from an area of their business and shares a password, or the password is guessed, or they don't have whatever that may be, and then suddenly the hackers or whatever are in your business. And
absolutely, these contact centres set up for hacking, where you get holidays and rewards. You know, so you're on a full-time salary, you get bonuses, holidays, everything you would get in normal employment, which is even more scary to think about, which is what we're up against. And I think, you know, from my side of things, you know, the connectivity into your business is one of the things that you've got to look at, but it isn't the only thing. I think ultimately, you know, for me, it's an ecosystem. We very much take that very, very, I mean, it's one of the most focused areas of our business. Most important areas for Apex is to have that approach of security first with our customers. I know yourselves have got the network as a security first network. It's the only way that you can manage that kind of network. For ourselves, it's managing that customer's endpoint and telling them this is what is going on. But ultimately, that's a business owner, and we're just trying to make it simple for them.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of, we say MSP.
Call it what you want.
BTV, but the MSP bit's interesting for me personally. I look at the market because you've got MSPs who always sold pretty much everything, but have a lot of the time not looked so much at connectivity. But now we're seeing people that just sold the internet and voice wanting to rebrand themselves as an MSP, and by that I mean, you know, IT support, security and all those things. And it's quite interesting looking at it, because I think to class yourself as an MSP, you need, kind of like when I've walked around, like you guys are a good example of it, you need a team of engineers that are on, you need 24/7. It's not a case of by changing to an MSP we're making more money because we're selling more products. It's, you need a full service rep,
absolutely,
and that carries a high cost. And I think it's going to be interesting for me kind of seeing that, because I think the connectivity is going to become really important for MSPs who've perhaps not typically done or looked a lot of it, because A, they're going to, you know, not want a competitor selling a particular product into their customer, but also from a service point of view, it makes sense that you're looking after everything, because you're doing the IT support, you're doing the security, you're doing every aspect sits with you, so that you can offer that assurance to the customer. Feels logical that a business would prefer that than using 5 or 6 different providers. Look at myself personally, I use one business for my internet, TV, and probably not hard to guess who, because it's easier. I could probably chop it and change it, but then it would just put me off, and then it adds more complexity to my time. So I think I'm really interested to see how you guys continue to use things like AI, the security bit and connectivity and kind of manage that for customers, because I think the questions you're probably getting asked from end users are very different over the last couple of years than historically would have come through. And I think you're almost having to be a provider, you're also having to be a trusted advisor.
Absolutely.
And give advice on what that business's strategy looks like this year, next year, year after. Are they going to automate these things? Are they going to move to a new office? Are they going to, what measures have they got in place for their staff? Should they get more staff in these areas and all those bits? And I think if you're, I'd say to any business owner, if you're not involving your businesses like Apex in them discussions, you will feel the damage of that or the issues later down the line when perhaps you bring them in. So, and by that as an example, I would say, for example, you'd go, right, Apex, I'm thinking about this strategy for 2027, 2028. These are the challenges of my business from a blah, 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 and involve you in that discussion.
Yeah.
So that you can say, well, actually, this software can help there, this bit, no, you don't actually need this, these offers, and you can really work as a team. I think where a relationship wouldn't be great would be if a customer, I'm just kind of thinking with my partner head on, if an end user said, right, by the way, I've shut my office in Manchester, I'm moving to Scotland, and I've got rid of 50 people because I've seen on the news, I can fully automate these things. And also, I think I need a firewall. I don't know. There you go. Sort that out for me, Steve.
Yeah. And
I've not involved you in any of them decisions.
To help you then. You've made the decisions. And the problems that non-alignment has are huge. And I think
do you find that sometimes they go, you don't, where people haven't, or where a customer hasn't involved their MSP or Apex in it, has that been perhaps ones that haven't worked with you long, or ones that kind of are worried to do that because they think you'll go, aha, this is a sales opportunity, or...
I think for us, so, the selling thing, we try to remove any thought of sales. The way we approach things for our customer is very much as a, it's an advisory role that we're taking on for you. When we've had a customer, there's not too many opportunities that I can think of in the past that hasn't done that. The problems have been for the customer. And then we have to think about, are we right to help that customer? Because, if you're ringing me for some support and you've made all these decisions and you sort of purchased all this stuff and you've done all these things, I can't really help. And our team out there can't really help. So what value are we adding to your business? So I think, for us, it is making IT simple for that end user and that business owner. The things that we would want from that relationship is exactly that, a relationship, a meeting where we showed everything we can help with where needed, and to understand the key goals for that business throughout the next 24 months. And then how that IT journey aligns with those goals, we'll come up with that. But we're relationship heavy. So we have had, obviously, like all customers, yourselves included, I'm sure, those scenarios where we've made this decision and we've already done it. And it's a tough conversation you've then got to have with, unfortunately, I can't help you at the moment because you've done this. We'll try and help as much as possible where we can, but there are certain things that are outside of our governance and control. And once you've made that decision, it's unfortunately one that might not be something that can be helped with. And also the risk on your business as well. Is it going to work correctly? Everything else. But yeah, I think nowadays, because we've really positioned ourselves with our customers, and when customers enter the business as that provider, that isn't, we don't want to sell anything, if I'm being honest. We want you to tell us this is what your goal is. There's options for every goal, but it's got to work with your business. It's your business at the end of the day. The people out there, they are experts and they really, really care. And I think that That's key, absolutely key.
Yeah,
I think, you know,
from
from your side of things, it's the hugest frustration ever is we're moving office in a few weeks. We needed to know 3 months ago so we could help you. I think that difficulty there is just one that I don't know if we'll ever overcome. But
yeah, I mean, we're not insulated from it. That's definitely not true. But you know, I do appreciate from a wholesale perspective, because we're dealing with partners. We probably, well, we don't bear the brunt of the businesses who have that pressure of staff, rent, need to be in their premises, or this needs to be working, that needs to be working. We obviously have a partner who's equally passionate to get that sorted, but I think there's a different level of conversation that our partners probably feel from a business owner as opposed to a wholesaler. I think, like you've kind of said there, you understand the logic in terms of moving into a premise and kind of leaving internet last minute and all that stuff, whereas, you know, perhaps a business doesn't. And I'm pretty sure a business owner wouldn't speak to you and say, "Oh, sorry, Steve,
what's this way leave?
I've made a mistake. Oh, try your best.
Yeah.
I'm paying 10 grand a month rent,
Yeah.
and I've got 50 staff, and just do your best, because the worst case scenario, they'll all go and work in Starbucks and I'll buy them a coffee every couple of hours." It doesn't exist, that sort of scenario.
It's not quite the same there because of that. But I think, yeah, in terms of where you guys are, and it used to be when I worked in that industry, it was one of the biggest bugbearers, because you want to help, and you know, everything in us says, I'm going to help you, and then to come out and say, I can't help you at the moment because this is the scenario you face. I can do something for you, but it's not going to be the answer you want. It's a painful thing. And I think that's probably where that alignment and that customer service thing really come into play. You know, I would forget the account manager and start looking at a customer relationship manager in my head whenever my account managers are out there, and we only have customer relationship managers here. But other businesses, I would be saying to you, look, part of that role is customer relationship, and that is all we care about.
The test of any partnership is only ever find out if you've got a good partnership, be it with a supplier or as a partner into a supplier, or however you want to look at it, when the chips are down. Mm-hmm. When things are going well, everything's always good. You know,
of course it is.
You laugh at each other's jokes and everything's gravy.
Yeah, but when there's pressure on there and price rises are happening, that's where, you know, key partnerships come into play. I think, you know, I like the fact that, you know, the way the businesses are set up and your businesses are set up, we've got those real conversations that help look after the end goal, which is a customer. So, yeah.
Customer's king.
And I know that, you know, your main thing there is key relationships across the channel, which, you know, for anyone else is someone who provides or resells services. You know, ours is slightly unique in a way, is we will resell your services for a client so they get a better price, but also we'll just pass on those services if we can't look after the customer, because we know that that's the right thing to do for that person. So what's your top tip for 2026 then, Will, to finish this off?
Ooh, business-wise or personal?
Well, I can have one of each.
That's one of each. I shouldn't have asked that, should I? Top tip for business would be authenticity. And by that, I mean, don't be afraid, if you're a salesperson or a business person or a business owner or whatever it is, to be yourself, to be authentic. I think it's a rarity in my experience a lot of the time, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there, be it on forums like LinkedIn and things like that. But I think it's a real differentiator. I don't think many people do it, but I think the more that do it, A, you'll feel better about yourself ultimately, but B, you'll generate business or customers or good reputation by being that figure that people can relate to. You can see I've probably picked one that isn't technology, which is, I'm a relationship person.
That's great.
And then I think personally, see, I've got two loves in my life. I've got my family and Huddersfield Town Football Club, so I'm trying to pick one. probably personally my girls I've got the 15-year-old will start GCSEs later this year, so you know, it's kind of one of them ones, you know, when you look back on you know, when your kids are that age, I used to be that stubborn as she is, and you want to, what's that saying? If I only knew then what I know now, and it's the ability to tell a 15-year-old that what you're saying is right because you've been in that situation, but for them to listen to it. So I think, to answer your question, in my typical rumbling style, business, I think authenticity, and then personal, I think my girls just being happy and, you know, succeeding and just being the best they can be, to be honest, and not costing me a fortune.
I don't think you get the last
I don't think the last one's achievable.
That's not achievable. I don't know exactly what you're saying with my children myself. I try and tell them because of past life experience. And
I'm sure like our parents laugh at people's, you know, like I'm sure I was told when I was their age, you know, don't do this or think about this and those things, but they're under a lot more pressure probably with technology now than we were when people would knock on and see if you wanted to go out, or they'd ring your house phone, and
now it's very different. It's very different, isn't it? It's definitely a unique time and something we just got to manage our children through and help them succeed.
100%.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity.
No, it's great to catch up.
No, you're a top guy. We'll
Thank you.
do anything for you. So no, it's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.